Mandé el tweet. Porfa, pon atención a tu Telegram.
Sí, claro.
En el intertanto, digo.
Sí. Y esto ya empezó en vivo, te voy a mandar el link.
Pero, ¿y este link? ¿Qué tengo que hacer? Nada.
No, por el link del vivo.
Ah, ya, gracias.
Voy a tirar el link ahora por las redes sociales. ¿Vale?
Ahí te mandé el tweet. Ahí está. We're going to be starting in just a few minutes. I can see that there's 3 of you already here. Welcome. Welcome, everybody. We're going to give a few minutes for everybody to connect, and then we're going to start. Hello, Gabriel.
Hola, no se me abría.
We are live.
Oh,
Is
great.
everything okay with your connection?
Yes, everything okay?
Cool.
Okay,
We are waiting a few minutes for people to connect,
great.
and then we're going to start. Okay, there's more people coming in. Welcome, welcome everybody. Okay. We're gonna give just a few more minutes and then we're gonna start.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. There we go. All right. So we're going to be starting now. Welcome everybody, and thank you for being here. My name is Javiera Sepúlveda, and I am the Chief Communication Officer in Fundación Epistemonikos. And well, thank you all for coming and watching our web tutorial for using our COVID-19 Love, which is a very important and very useful tool. So we want everybody to learn how to get the best out of it. So I'm gonna explain a few things before we start. First, remember that you can ask questions on the chat of Zoom, and when you do so, please try to press the option for everybody to see your questions so more people can learn from the questions that you ask. And we're gonna start with a presentation of Love, and then we're gonna follow with some practical exercises and examples so you can see really how it works. So I'm gonna introduce now our founder and the chairman of Fundación Epistemonikos, Dr. Gabriel Rada. Welcome and thank you.
Thank you, Javier. I think it's our first webinar, so it's an honor, and it's very exciting to talk about this tool that we have released last week that has received very positive comments. But I think explaining the details can be very important to make an optimal use of the platform, and we expect to do that during this webinar.
Great. Okay, so let's start on our presentation so people can learn about the generalities of love, our living overview of evidence.
Yes, it's we have a very short presentation explaining the basics, some very basics about evidence-based medicine and what is the context where this platform is built. So sorry if someone find that too basic, but it's in order to explain what is the general context and fundamentals of this project. So are you seeing my screen now?
Yes, we can see perfectly your screen. Thank you. Okay. Good.
Yes. So, well, love stands for a living overview of evidence. So that's the name of the platform, and I think it says a lot about what is the objective. But we will go into much detail when we see the actual platform. But to understand why this platform is so useful, we think is first it's important to be clear about how much evidence is there and how can we manage it efficiently. So the first question is probably obvious for most of the people in the public, but it's there is a lot of information. It's difficult to manage. So we started almost 8 years ago trying to put all the evidence into a single place. And we launched Epistemonikos database, that is our own main database. And since 3 or 4 years is the largest database of systematic reviews in the world. It also has a lot of other types of evidence, primary studies and guidelines, overviews of reviews and others, but it's the largest source of systematic reviews in health in the world. And we have been bringing more sources and more evidence to that platform. However, the problem is that if you want to make decisions, you sometimes need more than systematic reviews. We are in the process of transforming Epistemonikos in a comprehensive database of all the types of evidence. So, and what I mean with evidence is evidence in the meaning that the evidence-based medicine or clinical epidemiology gives to that. So the first fundamental of this methodology is that there are some studies or some evidences that are more reliable than others. And for instance, when you look at treatment questions, we already agree that randomized trials are the best available evidence. So the more reliable study design, and we try to make decisions first with those kind of studies, and if we don't find randomized trials, we start using those that are lower in the hierarchy. If you look at this pyramid, you can see that systematic reviews are at the top. And that's something that is very important, because now the current conceptualization of systematic reviews is that they are not part of the hierarchy, but I will explain that in 2 slides more. So the second concept is precisely systematic reviews. Systematic reviews are one of the main products of evidence-based medicine, and now are considered the main or the principal type of article to make decisions informed by evidence. So a systematic review is able to collate all the studies or articles that are out there about a specific clinical question or health question, and then through a systematic and transparent process arrive to a conclusion based on the body of evidence or all of the studies that answer the question of interest, and are typically synthesized with a mathematical technique called meta-analysis. And meta-analysis is not the main concept in this. The systematic reviews is the main concept, but many reviews have a meta-analysis as the way of synthesizing the evidence. So with this kind of articles or process or research, you can have things or answers that are ready to be incorporated into decision making. It's impossible to make decision based in all of the primary studies, all of the articles that are out there for each question, especially in areas where the information is substantial, as the one that we are going to explore later with COVID-19. The current conceptualization of these 2 concepts is this. So systematic reviews are not at the top of the pyramid, but are a zoom or a lens that allows us to access the body of evidence. And now also there are more criteria or elements to grade the quality or certainty of the evidence. So we know that randomized trials need to fulfill some criteria, or if not, they can provide lower certainty evidence. And the opposite with the observational studies, if they fulfill some criteria, they can end up as better evidence. So this is something more complex than only the study design today, and that also it's more interesting because allows to incorporate all types of evidence into decisions. And the main point with systematic reviews is that if we don't use them, we are going to be in trouble in trying to make sense of all the evidence. But even if we are able to address or assess all the existing articles, we can see a part of the evidence that is not representative of the truth. That is something that we call publication bias. And also systematic reviews try to counteract this problem and do several things to identify the totality of the evidence. That is something that is very difficult for regular users. So systematic reviews are in some way a solution for evidence that is not easily accessible. And if we don't use this systematic approach, we might end up selecting some articles that are not representative of the truth. So in order to build this platform, we are using our network of collaborators of Epistemonikos and Love Project that is over 1,000 people, more than 200 already working in COVID-19 too. And this large collection of health evidence with almost more than 300,000 systematic reviews and more than 700,000 articles. So this evidence base gives us a good starting point, but also we reuse many of the technologies that we had in place to quickly create or set up this new platform. The reason to create Love is that the evidence, even though we are able to have it into one database, it's much more than we can handle. So the number of systematic reviews in the graph at the left side of the screen shows how many systematic reviews are produced each year. It's a cumulative graph. And now we have more than 40,000 reviews being produced each year, which is impossible to manage. And that is in line with the total number of evidence that is produced in the world, but that the estimation is that the total amount of information duplicates every 9 years. So it's impossible to handle. Even with our own with our main database, we believe that it's becoming impossible to manage everything. So we develop a response to the following problems: that searching, screening, and synthesizing evidence takes too much time, too much effort, it's too expensive, and becomes out of date too soon. And the other problem is that it's redundant. There are many reviews, many evidence synthesis for the same questions. So the information can be useful, but it can also be a problem if you don't have a good way to address it. So this is where love enters, and a leading overview of evidence. Our platform, the definition is that it's a tool, a digital tool that combines a series of technologies, including artificial intelligence, with efforts of a network of experts. So it's a combination of technology and people to obtain and organize health evidence, as also keep it always updated, incorporating new evidence as soon as it's produced. The word living refers to incorporating evidence as soon as it is produced, like in living reviews or living systematic reviews and living guidelines. So love is a space where everything is continuously organized, basically. Our values are trying to be fast, artificial intelligence, and the rest of the process. Also exhaustive. It's we not only want to be fast, we also want to be exhaustive. Stay current or living, and we also offer several services that are also part of the Love project, but it's not the part of the Love platform. That is what I'm going to show now. And the way that our information is organized is with the classical way of structuring questions in evidence-based medicine, the PICO format or PICO format, where P stands for population, I for intervention, C is comparison, and O is an outcome. But there are some components of these questions that are more relevant than others. So we give priority to the intervention component or the action that is being assessed in the evidence, and the population component in the second place. So imagine that you are seeing a map. Typically in a map you have the world, for instance, and you start seeing some boundaries that are easily recognizable, like continents or countries. But when you enter or you go deeply, you need more granularity, or you need more effort to identify the relevant components of your question or the place where you want to get. So this is an iterative process where we start developing ways of organizing the information. But as soon as we identify more information, we change it or improve it. And we also can start digging deeper. So when we realize that there is one place that is defined by some boundaries that is not a typical country boundary, we can say, okay, we already have one component. This is the way that the information needs to be organized. But we can go deeper and deeper. And when you start to seeing people, variables, and so on, we can recognize that it's very difficult to get to the actual clinical or health question or definition that we need. So the typical problem that most projects trying to organize the information have is that they cannot go deep enough to get to the clinically relevant questions. So that is one of the the reasons why we decided to create our own taxonomy, our own way of defining the populations and interventions, and that is the basis of the LOVE platform. So when you get to an actual question, you already have a space where you can see all the relevant evidence. In this case, these three people or papers or evidences as you want. To see in terms of the process, the evidence synthesis process, typically you have several steps from kickstarting a project, defining the question, searching, screening, identifying the information, mapping it when you have more than question, and then update it. And at the end is assessing the information and summarizing or synthesizing. What basically LOVE is doing is combining many of these steps and replacing them. So it's basically a platform where all those steps are already completed for you. So you are seeing the output of the process of screening, searching, screening, selecting the evidence collectively by many people and supplemented by artificial intelligence when the people has not yet seen or selected the information. So what we expect to achieve with LOVE is something that is a one-stop shop, a very efficient solution, and that is why we say LOVE is all you need when we're talking about evidence needs. And yeah, that's the introduction, and now we are going to see some real examples.
Okay.
Javiera.
Now I have a mic. Before we go to the next part, I want to know if anybody has any questions. You can. We are also streaming on YouTube, so if you are on YouTube, you can ask questions through our Twitter at Epistemonikos. So you send the question, and we can answer it live. If you don't have any questions, we can follow with the next part of our presentation. So. As it said on the slide before, please go to, you can go to iloveevidence.com and enter the way Gabriel is entering. And also you can enter by app at iloveevidence.com/COVID-19. And that would be directly to our COVID-19 LOVE, which is the one that we are going to browse today. We're going to give a minute for everybody to go to the platform. Gabriel, could you show us how to go to the platform?
Yeah, exactly. This is the main address, is iloveevidence.com. Very easy to remember, iloveevidence.com. And if you go to iloveevidence.com, you get to the landing page with the explanation of what LOVE is and what are the different options. We have the LOVE platform, that is the one that we are going to show now. Here you can go to the LOVE platform directly. There are other links through the page, but here is the easiest way to go. And for the special LOVE, because the COVID-19 LOVE is a special one, and we are going to explain why. You have a direct access here, and in any of the Epistemonikos resources, you will find the same button going directly to the COVID-19 special LOVE.
Exactly. Okay, so we're going to start with the general browsing, so you can see all the different parts and identify each one, so you can use it later. Please go on, Gabriel. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, the first thing that you're going to see this platform. This is all the evidence that we have already selected as relevant for coronavirus disease, COVID-19 or other coronavirus are also included here. If you're interested in the methods, it's not the typical place to start, but I assume that some of you might be interested in the methods in this audience. You can go here, the methods. So LOVE is conceived as a big systematic review. So we're using systematic review methods to build this platform. So if you go to methods, you will see the typical sections that you find in a systematic review. What are the search methods? What is the search strategy that we are using? How we have built all the strategies, because it's one strategy for coronavirus and COVID-19 here, but there is also hundreds of strategies for each of the individual questions that are in the platform, and each has been built with the same approach. What are the search sources? This is part of why this LOVE, COVID-19 LOVE, is different from the rest of the LOVE platform, is that we have supplemented with more than 30 sources of evidence. So we now think that LOVE is based in the largest repository of evidence in the world, and we are getting information from more than 30 sources that include the major databases, the trial registries, the preprint servers, and many other sources that we are regularly screening. For the major sources, all the information is automatically retrieved. For instance, PubMed is searched several times a day. medRxiv, one of the most popular preprint servers, also several times a day. So there is a software going there several times a day. So it's almost real time between it's in those sources and it is here. Then, well, the eligibility criteria, what kind of things we include and how we created the map and so on. And then you have a living report. So it's part of the results. This is a Prisma workflow, typical from very common in systematic reviews. This is the way you organize the information. So from these news sources, we have a screen more than 87,000 records. Also, we have a screen our own platform, the main database, Epistemonikos. And the total is that we have identified more than 50,000 like potentially eligibles for this. So that means matching a Boolean strategy that we think is very comprehensive. And from those, we have selected more than 7,000 as relevant or are included in the platform at this moment. Well, this is the total number of articles entering the main repository, the 87,000. And as you can see, is massive. The amount of information that is being produced in COVID-19 is something that has never been seen before, and it's impossible to handle, we think, without an approach like this, or it's very difficult. So that's enough about the methods. So if you're not interested in the methods, or if you have already seen the methods, you go directly to here. This is the whole amount of information that we have in the platform already selected, 7,000 articles. And you can navigate through this menu here. So this is like a way of filtering or searching in the platform and finding what you are looking for. And it's organized in a very intuitive and functional way. We organize all the types of questions into 5 domains, or five type of questions. So you have the prevention or treatment questions, which treatments are useful or not for coronavirus or COVID-19, diagnostic questions, questions about etiology, questions about epidemiology, or questions about prognosis. We think this categorization is exhaustive. So any type of question fits in one of these 5 categories. Sometimes, especially for etiology, epidemiology, and prognosis, not so intuitive. So you might need to browse a little bit. So, but if you want to search for a specific question, you just select your type of question. Let's say treatment, and you can search here, or you can navigate with this menu. So, for instance, if you want to search for the evidence for hydroxychloroquine, the more popular questions in COVID-19, you can navigate here. And if you know that hydroxychloroquine is a pharmacological intervention, you can browse and see antimicrobials. And if you go that it's an antimalarial, and then you can go to hydroxychloroquine and click here. Or you can easily search here and you will be shown hydroxychloroquine, and you click there. It's very simple. And by clicking here, you get all the information for this question. So it's the result of the search, but it's not the traditional search engine that is showing you a lot of things that might or not might be relevant. In this case, is the output of a process of searching for a large amount of possible articles, applying an artificial intelligence algorithm to select the more likely article for this question, but also a collective effort of a large network of people certifying or validating that the information here is actually answering this particular question. And when you get here, this is something that is very interesting because it's a lot of information. So it's the first thing that strike anyone accessing this question is that we have almost 400 articles already for this question. And but if you want to make the most of this platform, we recommend to use systematic reviews first. So systematic reviews are the staple of evidence-based medicine and have all the advantages that we have already mentioned. So we have here 40 systematic reviews, which is a lot, much more than you typically find in a question. And they are ordered from newest to older. So this is the newest systematic review for this question, and you can start looking at the rest. But 40 systematic reviews is still a lot of information, so probably you can select the newest, but you can also dig deeper. And if you want, and if you read one of these reviews, you might want to be sure that all the randomized trials of these questions are included. And if you want to do that, you go here. There are more than 300 studies already on this, but you can easily select the randomized trials, the best quality or the highest study design in the hierarchy. And you can also select those that report data and separate it from those that do not report data, because there are many ongoing trials, things that are not completed yet. So if I click here, I can see that there are 6 randomized trials already completed, and this is very easily accessible here.
Gabriel, so to sum up this part, because it's very important, if you simply need to answer a question like, is hydroxychloroquine good for as a treatment in any way, you better go to the systematic reviews, right? But if you want to conduct research or even do make a systematic review of your own, you can have all of the other resources to actually conduct easier that investigation and that research.
Exactly. Yeah, that is a very good point, because for the regular user, probably with the systematic review, you have all the information you need. But if you're actually conducting a review or you want to enter into more details, probably you need to the primary study. You need to go to the primary studies. But if you are actually conducting a review or you want to enter into the very last detail, this platform also has all other articles. So you have here 100 articles apart from the 393. That is basically everything else that has been published about hydroxychloroquine. So here you have things that are not primary studies or reviews or broad synthesis. We call that excluded studies. Or you have articles that are waiting for our team to classify them and to do the final check that these articles fulfill some of these categories. So if you want to see the very last detail about this question, you can enter here and you access all the articles that we think are not part of this collection, or have not been selected yet, but are but the team. So this is a space for researchers basically, or for someone that is very interested in a topic, or it might be for these questions where the information is just arising that is happening now with COVID-19. So there is the first study that appeared, or the first preclinical study that is showing that a theory and hit the news, and you want to go there. Probably you're going to find that kind of information here in the other article section. But for most users, the systematic reviews is the space where you can find the more valuable information.
Thank you. Gabriel, we have a question that it's very related to this that you're talking about. So it's from Leah Hagerman, and she wants to know if it's if there's any way to search the database using a search string rather than going through the filters. For example, if we are searching for public health evidence, like cohorting of COVID-19, positive residents, what type of filters would you suggest? How would you suggest to conduct that kind of search?
It's an interesting point. The Epistemonikos database contains all these articles. So you can use Epistemonikos database to conduct your own search with your own strategies. But each of the terms that we have here, it's based on a strategy, and with all this added value of a further selection of what is relevant and what is not. So for instance, if you want to see public health, we already have that. And this is based in a strategy. So here you're going to see anything matching strategy for public health interventions. And we have been adding more questions about public health interventions. And if someone finds that there is an intervention that is missing in the platform, can contact us and we can add it. There are almost more than 1,000 questions now in the platform. And it takes very little to add a new question to the system, typically less than 1 day. So anyone interested in a question that is not in the platform, can send it to an email. We have set a dedicated email that is covid19@epistemonikos.org, and we can do it here. Additionally, this platform is also a tool for researchers. So anyone interested in conducting reviews using this platform is more than welcome to do it. And in that case, it's better to start a discussion, and we can check the search strategies to check if all the terms that team is using is part of the strategy we are using, and so on. There is a lot of tools that are not part of the public platform, but for collaborators of the project, which are absolutely invited. The platform is open. The project is trying to build upon the collective intelligence of all the groups conducting evidence synthesis in the world. We are more than happy than liaise with them and to see how they can make the best use of the platform for those purposes too.
Gabriel, could you show us maybe another kind of treatment? How would you look, for example, for the efficiency of stem cells plasma, for example?
Well, yeah, convalescent plasma. For instance, if it's one of the popular interventions that have hit the news is if you start plasma, convalescent plasma, and then go here. So as you see, it's very quick. So there are 9 systematic reviews now on convalescent plasma, and probably the more relevant study, if you want to check the reviews, you need to make sure that are including the only randomized trial reporting data. There is a short text showing that in this button. but you can also select here reported data, RCT, and there is only one completed trial. So any review that you are looking at probably should include this trial, or if not, it's not updated.
What would it mean that, what it means to the answer you're looking for, that there's only one randomized trial that's reporting data? Is that an important thing to consider on your answer?
Yeah, absolutely. So for most of the questions in COVID-19 and in evidence in general, we can rely more in randomized trials than in other types of studies. So when we have a randomized trial, these studies start higher in the evidence hierarchy. But the systematic reviews are the ones that are going to assess that study, make sense of the information that they are providing, and portraying objectively what are the conclusions of that study. So even though you can go to the actual study, probably it's better to go through the systematic review to have first a confirmation that is the only study. Eventually, you can have also the big picture of what this study says, or this randomized trial, in comparison with the other studies, the non-randomized one. And you can also have a critical appraisal of that study, which is very relevant. In the case that there is only one study, you don't have a meta-analysis. A meta-analysis is a technique to combine more than one study. But when you start to have more trials, that is what we anticipate is going to happen here. There are dozens or hundreds of studies ongoing to test the same hypothesis. It's going to be much more important to have a pool estimate or a meta-analysis of all those studies to make a conclusion. So the only way to make sense of all that amount of information, or all the information that we believe is going to appear in the next weeks or months, is through systematic reviews.
Gabriel, we are closer to the end. We are like 10-15 minutes to the end of our webinar. So before we close, could you show us, for example, other kinds of searches? Like, for example, if somebody wants to know if really men are prone to have a more serious case of COVID-19 than women, how would you look?
Yeah, exactly. That requires a lot of familiarity with the taxonomy, but that is a prognostic question. So it's a question about what are the predictors of outcome. So what are the factors that predict that someone is going to have a worse outcome, basically. So here you can say sex or gender, and you click here, and this is all the evidence about the gender as a predictor of outcome. So there are 4 systematic reviews assessing that specific question. You can search here, or you can browse. If you start using the platform, you get familiar with the taxonomy, and then it's probably easier to browse and to see the different predictors, for instance. So there are dozens or hundreds of predictors probably. So you have clinical findings, laboratory findings, radiological findings, also some things that are part of the population characteristics, even environmental factors like the weather of the built environment, pollution, and many others. So sometimes it's, especially for this type of questions, might be very good to get familiar with the taxonomy. It's very simple, and you start discovering a lot of stuff.
Gabriel,
so, yeah.
If somebody wants to download the information, somebody wants to use it in another platform, how can they do that?
Yeah, it's very simple. So you just export, and you get a RIS file, which is the format that most citation managers software use, or the systematic review softwares. So you can download from here. You can download all the articles, or you can download other articles if you want. So it's
so
just
it would be important to say that for that feature, and also to be able to save and mark as favorite, subscribe to a question, you need to log in. Login is very easy.
It's a good.
Yeah.
Well, the platform is continuously updated, but if you want to receive notifications or to have a question that is your favorite question, so to mark it so you can access it easier, you can, let's say plasma again, convalescent plasma, and you can subscribe here. So you need to be logged in to subscribe. So you just create your account, and of course an email is needed to notify someone. So you subscribe and here, and you can receive email notifications daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly. Or you can favorite your question. That means you're not going to receive an email, but you can see this question in your dashboard. So you go to here, my account, and your account is going to show you my subscriptions. And here you see all the questions that you have in love in general, COVID-19, special COVID-19 love, or any other love of the platform.
That's great. I want to remind everybody, even if we have a few minutes, you can send us your questions on Twitter at Epistemonikos, and also on Facebook, facebook.com/Epistemonikos. So if you have any questions, maybe also later, we can answer them now or whenever you ask them. So we are almost on time to finish this presentation, and I want also to remind everybody that today at 6 p.m. GMT-4, it's the same presentation, but in Spanish, for people who need it in Spanish. So we are going to be connecting at 6 p.m. today, Chile time. And I want to thank Gabriel for this very, very profound explanation. And also I want to invite everybody to send us an email on the COVID-19@epistemonikos.org mail, that if you have any other doubts, if you need to know about any other type of questions, and everything that you weren't able to ask here, we are going to be very happy to answer on the email, because our main objective with these tutorials and also with the platform is that everybody can use it to have accurate information and to be maybe safer from fake news, because here you can find the real answers, as we already saw. Gabriel, do you want to close this presentation?
Yes, well, I think it's, as I said at the beginning, it's a great opportunity to show you the platform with all the details. We expect to add more things in the future, so stay tuned also for news and new features, but also for more questions, more details, and we think that this platform is very innovative in several ways, but one that for me is very important is that this is built with a lot of technology, artificial intelligence, and so on, but also it's a way of involving more people in screening and validating and improving this platform. And if we are able to include enough people, probably it can be a repository of all the evidence for all the questions in COVID-19 at one click or at a few clicks. So it's a collective effort, it's a collective enterprise, it's the collective intelligence of all the collaborators of the project that is going to make a substantial improvement in the capacity of have all the evidence and with a high level of accuracy. So this is what we are seeing now is the starting point of something that is going to improve continuously in the next weeks or months, because now most of the information is based on artificial intelligence work. We have a lot of collaborators, but it is proportionally minor in comparison with the artificial intelligence. But as much more people is engaged in the platform, and interested in using this as a space to conduct their own reviews and so on, it's going to become better and better. And eventually we think it's going to replace the traditional way of conducting systematic reviews and guidelines and evidence synthesis in general too.
That's great. Thank you, Gabriel. We received a last question that I think is very interesting. Maybe we're taking a few more minutes to answer that. Somebody wants to know if what would be how it differs looking for information on Epistemonikos database versus looking on LOVE.
Well, I think we expect that LOVE is going to replace Epistemonikos database at some point. So our recommendation in general for any topic is going to LOVE first, and if you don't find it in LOVE, then try Epistemonikos database. It requires more effort to get it in our main database. You need to build your own strategy. The strategies are built here in LOVE already, and the evidence is already screened, and it's much easier to use LOVE than Epistemonikos database. So for COVID-19, that is particularly true. Getting all the information in our main Epistemonikos database is going to be a lot of work, even though it might be the more comprehensive repository or database of systematic reviews, but still getting all the relevant reviews is difficult. But in LOVE, it's much easier, and it's just clicking a couple of options or conducting a very simple search that is starting to write the intervention or the population, and you get what you are looking for. And in terms of accuracy or sensitivity or recall of the searches, what you find in LOVE is more sensitive than what a regular user does in the main database. So for most users, of course, for trained user or information specialists, they might end up identifying everything that is relevant in the main database, but that is not always the case for all the users. And in LOVE, that is easier and is more reachable for the average user.
Thank you, Gabriel. Okay, so now we're really gonna close this webinar. I want to tell you also that we are going to have more webinars like this. We're going to be explaining, we are going to have one about some aspects of evidence-based medicine. And we also are planning a special webinar for journalists and professionals in communications, so they can also learn how to look for, how to assure that the news that they have found are effectively real and are evidence-based. So we hope that will be very useful, and please stay attentive to the next announcements that we're gonna have with these webinars. I wanna thank everybody again. I wanna thank Gabriel for this explanation, and see you next time. Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.